Stick around, I'm going to share with you 2 tutorials that I attempted today. But first, let's just enjoy some of these Halloween decorations. Oh my goodness. This house is incredibly decorated for Halloween. This has got to be one of the most spectacular houses that gets decorated every year, and they just keep adding more and more decorations. Wow, I love this one. A skeleton on a red Vespa and another skeleton on the ground trying to hitchhike. This is so cool. Oh, look at that. There really are eyeball flowers. They do exist. Hey, so this Halloween season, I decided I wanted to try 2 tutorials on pumpkins and spooky flowers. And I'm following 2 tutorials by 2 really great YouTubers. One is Lacey from Rebel Unicorns Crafts, and the other one is Andrea, just like my name, but she's Andrea Nelson-Art and does much better at watercoloring than I do. And so both of them came out with quite a few options for Halloween this year, some like spooky ideas that you can watercolor. So the first one is going to be the Glowing Pumpkin by Lacey, and the second one will be the Spooky Flowers by Andrea. And let's see, did I succeed in following their instructions? Let's find out. So I'm starting off with Lacey's Glowing Pumpkins because she mentions,
look at how much it looks like it's glowing from inside.
And I think they look so cool. Now the idea is to get your brightest yellow down first. What I did not hear her say was to wet the paper first and then put down the yellow. So that was the first step I did very differently. But of course, I did make it dry. This is Lacey's signature sayings. Let it dry or make it dry. I love it. Now, I somehow forgot how to draw a pumpkin face, so thank goodness you can actually erase pencil markings on top of watercolor. Next, I move on to paint the second layer around the face, which is a slightly darker yellow with orange. My watercolor skills are really shining through here. I am correcting my paint around the eyes and mouth while making it dry at the same time. Shh, this is a secret level technique here. Please don't share this one. After the second layer, Lacey mentions adding a couple of outside lines to the mouth and the eyes to have the pumpkin look like it has more of a carved out face. For some reason, where to place those lines confused me, and I crossed my fingers it would all work out in the end. And now for layer number 3. It was getting a little bit messy with pumpkin number 2. I definitely needed to do a little cleanup. Thank goodness for the ability to make it dry quickly. After that drawing session, I learned another really valuable lesson about watercolors. You can lift up the color that you don't want there anymore. This was so helpful. I was able to remove some of the darker orange and make the mouth a little sharper and a little more glowing. Wow, I honestly do not have that much watercolor experience, and playing around with this is so valuable just to learn how to work with watercolors. Another layer of a darker orange went down again, and I had to protect my pumpkins this time from my cat. I quickly got to drawing this layer and moved on to retweaking and touching up the glowing eyes and mouth because, well, I am a messy watercolorist, as I've learned. It could also be the paper. The paper might not be the best because this is my really cheap hack paper for practicing watercolor, but it's not the 100% 100% cotton paper. So I think the watercolor is sitting on top of the paper a little bit more and sort of running into the spaces it shouldn't. And well, I don't know, a mix of everything with my inexperience, but hey, practice makes perfect. Here's the next little bit of instruction that I missed out on, and that was to first draw the outline of the pumpkin and then fill the negative space with a much darker color. I also was a little confused because her picture actually looked like it had some dark blue or dark purple shades, and well, if you don't know your color theory very well, it is very easy to turn this into a very brown, poopy background mess. And that kind of happened to me. Here I go fussing around with the watercolor again. I touch it up a bit more and then I get back to drawing it up really good because next comes the fun part, removing all the tape.
Look at how much it looks like it's glowing from inside.
Oh, it's glowing. Thanks, Lacey, except for the poopy brown colors. Now we move on to Andrea's spooky flowers.
This one might not be for everyone, but it is definitely for me.
Oh, I don't know, Andrea. They can't be that bad, can they? I'm already thinking, how smart am I to use a circle stencil to draw out these eyeballs? Well, that perfectionism quickly goes out the window. Next, I needed a black Sharpie marker that would be waterproof to do the pupils, and all I could reach for was my king-size mega Sharpie marker. Way to go, Andrea. That's me, Andrea. Now I get to play with watercolors again. I definitely wasn't following instructions. I jumped right in and put full color around the iris. I was forgetting that they should have had a light color first and then a dark shading just around the edges. Oh well, it didn't really matter. My irises were getting messy, and while those once perfect circles were definitely no more, I had to keep adjusting and cleaning up around the edges. Now I made sure everything was nice and dry, and I moved on to choosing my colors for the flower petals. I used up some of the iris colors on my palette, and I went straight for putting down the petals. I was nowhere near as elegant as Andrea Nelson. I was also struggling with overlapping petals, not being patient to dry in between the layers, and well, you can see it was a little messy. Another thing I immediately noticed is how bright and bold my colors were. I have a lot of pigment I'm putting down instead of going for light washes, and well, I just couldn't help it at this point. It was going to have to be so. And I'm back to drawing while correcting my paint at the same time. I'm sure if you're not yelling at me right now, someone else will be. Oops. And here's another great multitasking tip while you're drawing. Why not mix up your next color? I really love this purple, and of course I had to stick to being bright and bold. Might as well go all the way with it. I didn't bother making this one dry, and now I was moving on to the flower stems and the leaves. And at this point, I wasn't paying attention to any of the tutorial instructions and just doing my own thing. Sorry, Andrea. I started to play around with different shades of greens, adding some grass and moving the puddles around the stems and the leaves. And I was back to drawing and correcting along the way. Oh no, I forgot to put down a full color wash at the start for my background. And so now I had the tedious task of adding a neutral gray wash all around my colorful flowers. Let's just say this was 50 Shades of Gray in an unwanted way. And now for the bonus material in this tutorial that I made up myself. Please do not take this one as Andrea Nelson's fine artwork because it's a hot mess now. I took out my acrylic paint pens to correct the white, and I pulled out colored pencils, and I used a magenta Faber-Castell artist pen for the details around the white part of the eyeball. I used the black waterproof ink pen to outline my shapes. I was definitely trying to clean up my mess. Well, I think I did the best I could with all my tools and willpower to make this mission a rescue for these flower eyeballs. And you know what? While my version is not the same as Andrea Nelson's version, I think at the end I kind of like them.
This one might not be for everyone, but it is definitely for me.
Thanks for teaching us this one, Andrea.